Hello friends, I hope you all are doing well and staying safe at your own place. I, CA Pujinkapadia, welcome you all on my today's lecture on the subject Advanced Accounting and Auditing Paper 5. As you all are aware, we had started with the topic of types or classification of audit, under which we are studying classification of audit from various viewpoints. First of all, we have taken up the point of classification of audit from compulsory and voluntary viewpoint, that is compulsory under law and voluntarily, that is not compulsory under law. Second classification was on the based on time, under which broadly we had covered two important types of audit. One was interim audit, that is audit which is taking place between two periodical audits. And second was the annual audit, that is basically commenced after the end of financial year, completed in a continuous sitting, and it is conducted only once in a year. Next was on the basis of continuity, under which firstly I had discussed in detail continuous or detailed audit, under which we had studied that the auditor or his entire audit staff is constantly engaged with the work of the client. Second one that we had covered over here was complete audit. Complete audit means auditing and examination of each and every transaction that are being incurred during the entire year. Basically, this is not a practical technique. It is useful only when the books of accounts have not been audited previously. Third was the partial audit. Partial audit basically talks about auditing only some records or some books or some accounts. So basically what I want to say over here is I am not auditing each and everything. I am just auditing the selected records. Whenever the owner or the partner suspect any kind of fraud, they can take resort to partial audit. The last and important from 2 marks also, auditing in depth, under which I had talked about audit trail. That is, I am tracing each and every transaction from its origin to its conclusion. That is, I am examining the smallest detail in with each and everything with its relation to the transaction. That is from the inception, from the origin till the conclusion, till the end. Each and every transaction with each and every supporting evidence is being totally examined, under which we are also checking the records created along with appropriate authorization, that is power to authorize certain transactions. In short, auditing in depth basically talks about auditing in detail regarding the entire transaction from its inception, that is from its origin to its conclusion. Next was on the basis of the scope, under which I have covered 3 points. First two were internal audit and external audit. Broadly speaking, internal audit is the one where the auditor is being appointed by the management to audit the day-to-day business transactions of the business. So basically here, the auditor is just as an employee. He is being appointed by the auditor to do the day-to-day audit of the transactions. While as against this, external auditor is the statutory auditor. He is being appointed by the shareholders, and it is being appointed just because it is being required by law in force. So basically the scope of audit is being defined by what is being stated in the law under which the auditor was appointed. And the third one was branch audit, under which I had told you who can be the branch auditor, what are the powers of branch auditor, who appoints the branch auditor, and last is the criteria when the branch audit is to be conducted. I hope you are clear with all these classifications we have covered till date. And lastly, I had started with the final topic, that is based on the view of speciality. That is, we are having certain special kinds of audit which are just far different from the routine audit, under which we had started with the first one, that is cost audit. So let's start it afresh from here. Definition. The definition reads, cost audit is the verification of correctness of cost accounts. So first thing is, I am looking into the correctness, whether all the cost accounts that I have maintained during the year are being maintained in an accurate and correct manner or not. That is my first objective. And second is adherence to accounting plan. That is, I need to check whether all the cost accounting has been done in accordance with the plan which was set for the same. So basically there is two kind of verification. One is with respect to correctness of the accounts, and second is adherence to the accounting plan. Adherence is basically I am complying to the plan that I has laid down. Next was objects of cost audit, under which we had discussed first arithmetic accuracy of the cost accounting data. That is arithmetically, that is from the viewpoint of calculations, all the data that you have recorded are correct and accurate. Second is adherence of cost account to the accepted principles. That is, I had recorded each and every transactions. I had recorded all the entries of accountancy in respect to the various principles. Third is detection of errors or frauds in the cost accounts. That is but nature. I am doing audit because one of my subsidiary objectives is definitely going to be detection and prevention of errors and frauds. Next is adherence to principles which are laid down by the management. That is to comply with all the principles and policies which are laid down by the management. Next is scientific determination of cost of production, which means basically I am looking out at a procedure which is basically a scientific one. Scientific here means a procedural part that could be well proven, fine, to determine the cost of a product. Next is proper accounting for under absorption or over absorption of overhead, which basically talks about whether I'm seeing the expenditure that I am actually incurring is being less or is being more as compared to the standard that I have set for the same. Next is examining the accuracy in valuation of closing stock and WIP. This basically relates to the valuation aspect. That is, at the time of valuation of closing stock or valuation of work in progress, I need to see that proper accuracy has been maintained or not. Next, and again an important part, control over each and every expenditure with respect to costing, like expenditure of raw material, expenditure of wages, that is laborers, expenditure on overheads. I need to check whether everything is under control or not. And last is reconciliation of cost and financial account. As I have told you in the last lecture, there are certain items which we record in costing, but we do not record in our normal financial accounting. And at the same time, there are certain items that we record in the normal financial accounting, but we do not record in the cost accounting. So basically, as a cost accountant, I need to reconcile both the profits, that is as per costing and as per financial accounting. So basically, all this are the objectives of cost audit. So primarily, what is my main objective? It is to check the correctness of the cost accounts and at the same time to check the adherence to the accounting plan. That is whether I am complying each and everything as I have planned or not. Then this all are the objectives. What are the purpose of carrying out the cost audit? I hope I'm clear till here. Fine. The next topic is scope of cost audit. Like what all activities are included in cost audit. Like what a cost auditor is supposed to do. We are going to study those points. The first is to check the records of materials. Now you will recall, I'm just going to state all the chapters that you have studied in the last year, that is Tybcom, in the subject of cost accounting, under which first of all you might have studied materials costing, fine. So as a cost auditor, I need to check each and every records with regards to my raw materials. Raw materials here basically talk about the inputs that are being used in the production process. Second is to scrutinize the wage records. I need to scrutinize and examine each and every records pertaining to wage. I need to check whether the proper incentive is being paid to the worker or not, whether any entries passed in the name of dummy worker or not, whether a worker who was on leave is not being paid mistakenly. So basically, I am going to look into each and every aspect with regard to labor costing, that is wage records. Third is to examine the overhead records. I am going to verify whether the cost is being incurred or the expenditure is being incurred as per the standard or not. Suppose the expenditure that I had estimated for selling purpose, that is selling overheads, was rupees 1 lakh, and when I'm going through the records, that expenditure is shown in the books of account as 4 lakh. Now just imagine the standard that I had planned was 1 lakh, but actually is 4 lakh. This is something a big mismatch, fine. So as a result of which I need to go in detail. So we are basically going to deal with each and every overhead records. Next is to check the records of work in progress, stores, and spare parts. We all know when we are having a manufacturing concern, these three items are going to be the part and parcel of the production process, which basically talks about work in progress. That is, you have done certain work on that particular raw material, but still it is not the finished one. So it is basically in progress. Second is stores. Stores and spare parts basically talks about there are certain small items that we use in the manufacturing process. Like for example, machinery oil. Now this is not your basic raw material, but it is something which is being used at the time of production process to keep the machinery working. Fine. You can label it as an indirect material also. So all these things we are going to check the records, quantity as well as the amount of all these particular points. Next is to check the variances. I hope you all know, you all have studied standard costing, fine. So we are going to find and analyze each and every variance. It may be your material variance due to material price variance or material usage variance. It may be your labor variance. it may be your overhead variance, it can be any differences. What you are supposed to do is you are going to find out the reasons for your adverse or the favorable variances. If it is adverse, you need to take the corrective actions. And the last one is, as I discussed in the last slide, to reconcile cost and financial records. So friends, this is basically the activities that are being undertaken by the cost auditor. So in the answer of scope of cost audit, we need to write in detail and explain each of these points that I have mentioned over here. Now let's take a quick view on the advantages. Like by doing cost audit, what are the advantages to the firm? First is it verifies the correctness of the cost accounting records. So first of all, I can be assured that my cost accounting record is being accurate, is being written without any kind of mistake. Second is I may be able to detect the errors or frauds, if any, in the cost accounting. Suppose there may be certain chances, there may be a well-planned fraud implanted by cost accountant, or it may be any error, that is by mistake there may be something written wrongly. Then at the time of examination of cost records, I may detect the errors or frauds. Third is it helps in identifying the profitable and non-profitable activities. This is one of the important points from the viewpoint of management decision making. What they are telling over here is you can easily identify whether the activities that you are doing, are they profitable or non-profitable. So once you come to know about the profitable and non-profitable activity, you can plan and work more, employ more resources on the profitable segment and withdraw the resources from the non-profitable activities. So basically this is going to helpful at the time of management decision making also. Next is it helps to controls the cost of production with the help of standard costing and budgetary controls. You all know what is standard costing and budgetary controls. These techniques, or I can say this mechanism, help us to keep a strict watch on each and every cost that is being incurred. As a result of which, in case of any kind of deviation or differences, it becomes easier for the cost auditor to identify the causes and at the same time implement the corrective actions so that proper control can be implanted on all the kind of cost expenditure. Next is control over wastage, scrap and defectives. This is again a small thing, but it may lead to many huge financial losses too. Now what we are talking about is wastage, scrap or defectives. Now when you are running a manufacturing unit, there are fair chances that you may have certain kind of wastage, certain scrap products or certain defective products. Now, if you are not paying any attention to this particular part, these all items are also having certain residual value. Now, just imagine the volume of a factory. Suppose you are producing 1 crore units a year, and if you are even having 1% defective ratio, you are having 1 lakh units of defective product. Now, just multiply it with the net realizable value and imagine the financial loss if you are not paying attention to this particular part also. So by cost accounting and cost auditing, you are having proper control because you are having the proper records and proper knowledge about the quantity and the realizable value of all these particular items, that is wastage, scrap and defective products. Next is it provides up-to-date information for managerial decisions. As I have told you, since I am doing cost auditing, all the cost accounting data are ready, up to date, available in my hand. So whenever top management wants to make any decision, it becomes much more easier for them. Why? Because they are having data handy in their hand already. Next is moral check on cost accounting staff. As I already discussed earlier also, if I know that my work is being going to be examined by someone else also who is above me, then I'm definitely going to do my work properly, because I know if any mistake is found, then I will be the person who will be accountable for the same. As a result of which, moral check on the cost accounting staff is but natural because of cost audit. Next is it assists in valuation of inventory of finished goods and work in progress. Now basically friends, if I am talking about a small unit, it is very easy to value the closing stock. But when we take complex businesses like big manufacturing units, now at the year end when the stock taking is done, the process of valuing that particular finished goods is being difficult. Why? Because you need to consider a proper proportion of each and everything that you have used on to produce that particular finished goods. As a result of which, if you are having proper up-to-date accurate cost data on your hand, it becomes much easier to value a particular finished good or a particular work in progress. As a result of which, cost audit also helps us at the time of valuation of inventory of finished goods and work in progress. Next point is cost reduction and reduction in selling price. Now, if I know where I am going over budgeting, that is where I am incurring expenditure which was not supposed to be incurred, I am getting the idea where I am incurring additional overheads. If I know about the same, it becomes easier for me to target that particular segment and keep a strict control over the spending at that particular area. So by this technique, I may control my cost, and if my cost is falling, definitely my selling price of the product is going to come down, and so my product can be more compatible in the market. So friends, all these are the advantages of cost audit. Now I would just like you to give you a minute and would request you to take an overview over each and every points of scope of cost audit and advantages of cost audit. Well, friends, I hope you are clear with the points which are mentioned over here. Trust me, this all points are simple and you may find it as a repetition also, but you need to understand it. So basically, if you will see the points of the objects, the points of the scope and the points of the advantages, there are certain points which are common. So what you can do in examination is you can form a list of common points that if any answer come, you are going to record these points, and additionally, you can differentiate among the additional points. So now let's take a last slide on this particular topic of cost audit. The name of the slide is cost auditor. In this particular slide, we are going to study the section under which we are going to talk about the appointment of the cost auditor, who is qualified to be a cost auditor, what are the powers of cost auditor, cost auditor is supposed to send his report to whom, and finally what is supposed to be included in the report of the cost auditor. So I can say we are going to deal with the legal provisions with respect to cost audit. So first of all, we had covered the definition. Secondly, we have to take a look over the objectives. Next was scope, that is what activities are being performed under cost audit. Next was advantages, like what are the advantages and benefits of conducting a cost audit. And now we are going to study legal provisions with respect to cost auditor. Let's start with the first one. These provisions are basically being mentioned under section 233B of Companies Act. So first of all, friends, you are supposed to remember and memorize this particular section. That whenever cost audit topic comes up in your examination, you are going to start your answer with this particular section. That as per section 233B of the Companies Act, we are going to study cost audit. Second point is cost accountant by the Cost and Works Accountant Act 1959 as directed by the central government. So basically, who can be the cost auditor? To the person who has been qualified as the cost accountant under which act? Under the Cost and Works Accountants Act 1959 as being directed by the central government. This is popularly known as ICWA that we know today, that is CMA course. Fine. So basically cost and management accountant known nowadays was previously gone under the act of the Cost and Works Accountant Act 1959. So basically who is eligible? So any ICWA or a CMA professional, that is technically writing, we are going to talk it as a cost accountant who is qualified under the Cost and Works Accountants Act 1959. If not, so if there is insufficiency, now for example, like there is a requirement of 10 lakh cost accountant, And as on date, suppose, let's take an example, there are only 7 lakhs cost accountant who are qualified under this act. Then how to fulfill the vacancy of remaining 3 lakhs? So for those remaining purpose, so it is being written clearly, if the cost accountants are not adequate in number, then and only then who can take over? Chartered accountants with not less than 10 years of practice experience if cost accountant are insufficient. It means first priority is definitely being given to the cost accountants. If cost accountants are insufficient, that is, as I have told you in the example, there is a requirement of 10 lakh, but there are only 7 lakh in number. So additional 3 lakhs are supposed to be filled by whom? It is the work is supposed to be performed by the chartered accountants. But what is the criteria for them? He should not be having less than 10 years of experience in his own practice as a chartered accountant. So broadly giving this point in front of you, who is eligible to perform cost audit? So first priority is cost accountant under this act. If not, that is if insufficient, then a chartered accountant with minimum 10 years of experience in practice can conduct cost audit. And it has been conducted under section 233B of the Companies Act. I hope I am clear with these 2 points. Okay, let's move ahead. Cost auditor can be appointed by the board of directors with the previous approval of central government. So basically, if the question comes, who appoints cost auditor? The answer you need to write 2 important points. First, it is being appointed by board of directors. So the actually appointing authority is with board of directors. But before appointing, they need to take the previous approval of central government. So you can say, who is the parent body who is governing the cost audit? The answer is going to be central government. So basically, appointment is being done by the board of directors, that is the management of the company, but with the previous approval, that is a previous sanction of the central government. CG stands for central government. Next point comes, what are the powers of cost auditor? So I have written over here, powers of cost auditor for cost audit is equal to the powers of auditor. Now let's understand this point a step ahead. Whenever I was talking about the normal audit, like annual audit or statutory audit, which is being required to be conducted under any act. Now, shareholders were the one who were appointing the statutory or the external auditor who was supposed to do the audit as per the scope which is being stated in that particular law. Now, that particular auditor is getting the authority, is getting the power as it is being mentioned under that particular act. So what they're trying to say is, if I have appointed auditor with respect to Companies Act 2013, so that auditor is going to get the power under Companies Act 2013. So the power that a company auditor is having for the entire company to conduct a statutory audit, the same power lies with the cost auditor with respect to the cost audit. So this line basically talks about auditor के पास जो powers है regarding to the entire company to conduct the statutory audit, the same power is with the cost auditor to perform its cost audit. I hope I am clear with this. Fine. Next point. Report of cost auditor is submitted to central government and not to the shareholders. Only the copy is being forwarded to the shareholders. As we have studied previously also, the person who is appointing you is the one to whom you are going to be accountable. So here the parent body that is being approving my appointment is central government. So basically I am going to submit my report to central government, but at the same time I will be forwarding the copy of my report, that is my cost audit report, to whom? To the shareholders. So who is the parent body? Central government. Who is appointing me? Board of directors. And shareholders are not having any role in this particular part, as a result of which whatsoever cost audit report I am preparing, that is stating regarding the examination of the all maintenance and evaluation analysis examination of the cost accounting record, the entire report is being submitted to the central government. The last topic which is written over here is report in form prescribed by cost audit report rules 1971. So I am going to prepare a report as a cost auditor, but the format is prescribed by whom? By the cost audit report rules 1971. So basically I need to submit my report as per the rule which is being prescribed in this particular rules. Which are the matters which are supposed to be included in the report? Like when am I submitting my report, what all are the points, what are the important matters that I need to include it as a cost auditor? So there are 3 important points on which I need to lay down focus. First is obtain proper information and explanation. Whenever I'm checking the verification, the accuracy of the cost accounting records, I need to obtain first of all the proper information and explanations so that I can satisfy myself that the records which are being maintained are up to date, properly verified and up to the mark, that is accurate. Second is I need to check maintain proper cost accounting records. So first of all, I'm going to gather all the important information and explanations. Second, I'm going to maintain all the proper cost accounting records. It may be records related to materials, records related to laborers, records related to overheads, closing stock, inventory, work in progress, all the items which are being related to cost accounting. Purchase, sales, stock, quantity data, amount, everything. And the last and important point which I have written over here is I need to ensure and state true and fair view of cost of production, processing, manufacturing or mining activities. Whatsoever business the enterprise is being involved, it may be production, it may be processing of something, it may be manufacturing or it may be mining activities or it can be a combination. I need to check the cost of the same is showing true and fair view. So at the end, we are always going to talk about the true and fair view, no matter which kind of audit or under which area of audit we are into. My optimum goal is to see that whether the thing that I am auditing is showing true and fair view. Here I am auditing the cost. So basically I need to assure myself regarding the true and fair view of that cost of production. In short, all these points are the legal provisions of cost audit. So if the question comes up in your examination, what is cost audit? Explain legal provisions with respect to cost audit. Then friends, you are going to write the definition, give a rough idea in short regarding cost auditing, and then you are going to mention this particular slide in detail. Just quickly reviving it. First of all, section 233 capital B of Companies Act. Second is who is eligible or qualified to be appointed as a cost accountant. First, it can be CMA, that is cost and management accountant, known as ICWA. Under this act, if they are insufficient, that is less in number, then you can take a resort to chartered accountant who is having minimum 10 years of experience in his practice. Who appoints cost auditor? He is being appointed by the board of directors, but by the previous approval of central government. Powers of cost auditor are the same that are powers of auditor for the company. Report of cost audit is being sent to central government and shareholders are forwarded a copy of the same. The report is being prepared in a format which is being prescribed under Cost Audit Report Rules 1971. And what are the matters which are included primarily? First is obtaining proper information and explanations. Second is maintaining proper cost accounting records. And third is stating regarding true and fair view of the cost of production, processing, manufacturing or mining activities. So friends, this is all for the cost audit and I hope you are clear with each and every points we have discussed in this particular topic. With this, I, CA Pujan Kapadia, thank you all for your patient listening and hope to see you soon in my upcoming lecture. Thank you friends.